Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Ah, crap, I didn't turn the camera on. This is just the worst start ever. Oh my gosh. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Activate. Oh, we didn't turn on the lights. Man, I know it's not having a great start this morning. You know what happened is my platforms are a little bit screwed up. Sometimes, I don't know, ever since we made the switch, sometimes when I come in, the like the data's not going. Like, I'm still connected, but it's not giving me data. So yeah. Give me just a second here. It's loading up. Fix the camera there. It seems like it slowly falls down. There we go. That's better. All right. So, let me make sure we got our news squawk on here. The Treasury quarterly refunding announcement is coming here. I don't think we've gotten anything yet. We'll keep an eye on here. I'm actually surprised they're not pulling liquidity. Maybe it did already come through. Oh, is it a 10-year auction today? No, I don't see that. U.S. to spell 58 billion 3-year notes on February 10th. U.S. to auction 42 billion in 10-year notes. Okay, so I think that means that we did get the refunding announcement. So let's come over to the charts. So here you can see the treasuries, not too much of a change from yesterday. There was a little bit of a bid going into the close because, man, the S&P 500 just got slaughtered. They clawed back a little bit of it, but it was pretty bad. And tech companies in particular were really, really hammered hard. I work at a tech company. Let me tell you what, people were talking about it. Holy crap. Oil. So, there's been a little bit of a bid yesterday in oil because the U.S. shot an Iranian drone down, I think. The oil seems to be trading largely on tensions in Iran. Otherwise, the oil supply glut narrative takes back hold and we come back below 60. Okay. Gold and silver had a decent recovery yesterday. So there's gold. Silver, not to it. I'd like to see them back over 100. Like this 110, 120, though, that was nutso. I'd be happy we're just above 100. You think they can claw that back? We'll see. It might be difficult for them to regain the narrative on that one, to be honest with you. Copper's doing its thing here. Up a little bit, though. And the Japanese yen. So the yen continues to be under pressure here. I mean, look at this. You think intervention will come in? That's something that I think we have to be on our toes for. But I wouldn't necessarily expect it to happen this week. Remember, there is an election this weekend. Okay? So that's what we got. Now, on the indicator thing that we've been working on for the past week, I did fix it. Look at that. See, now I get the little number. And we should, now that, well, let's see. How come I didn't get the number? Okay, there it is in the 10-year. So if I come in here to the treasuries, Load data levels. Clear. Load data. And hey, look at that. We get the numbers. So, I don't know what to make of that quarterly refunding announcement. It looks like the treasuries are moving down off of that. We could try doing something at 15.5. Yeah, Uzi says neato. Let me real quick put down some notes in here. I want to add a feature so that this will auto scale, like show the next nearest line or something like that, and maybe adjust how that percentage number shows up. It looks like the bug is still in there, that it will save the default value. I actually figured out what was causing that. But I think today is a day that we should try to be a little bit more geared into the market. Like you can see there's a lot of activity on the DOM. We've had a decent open here. Of course, this is because of the quarterly refunding announcement. Let's see here. And then we did have ADP this morning. How come I'm not getting... Let's refresh here on Financial Juice. Okay, so ADP was 22K versus the expected 45. That's interesting. But we get at 7:45 US S&P Composite PMI, and then we get the ISM Services PMIs today. And I think what was the other thing? Didn't we get like a can't even remember now. Not just the PMIs, and then we had the refunding announcement, right? So the refunding announcement tends to lead to a decent amount of activity, right? So I do think that we have enough activity, especially, I don't know if just the activity on its own is enough to do it for us. I think, though, with the way this is setting up, we might go for a reversal. I don't know. I'm kind of watching what it's doing here at 17. There is some selling here, but those bids are pretty quick to refresh it. Let's see here. Let's come to Zero Hedge and see what their headlines are in the meantime. Okay, they took 17. It cleared. Everyone did across the board. They've still got the SAS time bomb story pinned. Did they have like an update to it? No one is buying the dip. Traders react to yesterday's chaos. Oof. AMD rout ahead of Google earnings. Ooh. That's interesting. So, oh, okay. The quarterly refunding announcement is causing a steepener across the yield curve, across the board. This is actually the largest intraday move in the yield curve that we've seen in several months. So is it a bear steepener? Can you see the 30-year is down a tick compared to the others, and now they all went down, and now it's down 2 ticks. Which means actually we're gonna have to take this and copy it, put it on ZB. Okay, well, we're close over there as well. Let's come into ZB. Clear load. Oh, we need to pick the file. Silly me. Silly me. There we go. Okay. So, we don't seem to be following the dollar too much. That's the first thing. So I don't think I have to worry about that one. The yen isn't moving a ton either. So this is a treasury specific move. Now, am I getting the absorption in this area? Okay, only about 5,000 is traded below 17, so. But they did touch those levels, so. I don't know. So interesting. The market order imbalance has been pretty well. Okay. So there was a bit of a buy impulse there. Okay, so that 17 is a little soft. Anyways, what was there was something else I was going to do. Oh, I was going to send Uzi the latest versions. That's what I was going to do. Don't like that. Okay. Try those versions. Okay. I'm kind of tempted to try and scalp one across 17 to 17.5. But I'm seeing it go across 17 really well and not 17.5 very well, so. Oh yeah, over here in the 10-year, we should change this, huh? We need to be on G. There is liquidity over there in the micros. Let's recenter. Still looks a little soft at 17, but it's only in the 10-year. The 5 and the 30 aren't doing that. Which kind of suggests to me that we can ignore that to some extent. The question is, are we going to get a follow-up impulse to that buying that we saw a little bit earlier? Well, that doesn't help. Okay. Okay. So I think that we've got a little bit of a hole going on here. Like, they are going across that price a lot, but it doesn't seem to me that the bidder offers are shy about putting up there. Like, they cleared it. They put 2,000. Well, okay, now they're going to take 16.5. Interesting. that happened on the 30 and the 10, and the 5 didn't go. Well, okay, now there's the 5 goes along with it. That's curious. That was a big change just now. See, I was saying like they were willing to put 3,000 at 17 at points. So let's see. They start absorbing in the 16, 15 half area. Looks like that impulse that caught us has come back out, so think on this we're kind of just gambling that the buyers are going to come. I think they still could though, because they do seem weary about getting below 16, don't they? Okay, well, they recovered it. No good bid at 17 yet, but it is bid. Oh boy, from Change My View, asylum seekers who travel back to their own country should have their asylum status revoked. 139 comments. Oh boy, I can't even imagine what the argument against that would be. I'm curious to see what they say. You can just send an empty comment. Do y'all see both our empty comments? I see Schroeder Ray's comment that has nothing in it. I don't see one from you though, Paul. That's kind of weird. Oh wait, maybe it's because I have top chat selected and not live chat. Not live chat's no different. 2 ticks down again. Weird, yeah, it is kind of weird. So on this, it's been long enough now that I don't think that my theory was correct, so I'm gonna bail. I'm not necessarily seeing anything that's like objectively against it. It's just, it's not really happening. We're just kind of skating back and forth between 16 and 17, and I'm in on a position with an average outside of that range. So I would rather try and, you know, take the smaller loss on that bail on that and see if it gives me a better entry opportunity. I'm kind of interested here in the absolute levels on the yield, because we're getting really close to 4.3. So you see this over the wire just in the U.S. Treasury. We see no changes for at least the next several quarters. Might have other markets to trade. No, I didn't see that. Who was that from? Oh, you know what? I refreshed this page and didn't turn on the news squawk, so I might be missing. Well, I don't think that anything came over the wire, but it does. I am concerned, though, more broadly, that the Treasury market has really low volatility, and I'm not sure I see why that volatility would come in, unless there is a market crash because of tech getting routed. It's actually really weird to think about this, because yesterday tech companies were hammered pretty hard. And Zero Hedge has a story about how the companies that lend to tech companies, these portfolios, are taking pretty major losses along with it. And so people are betting essentially that hardware is everything and software won't be worth anything because anybody will be able to make any software with AI. Which I just simply don't believe, to be honest with you. Should I go into that? I don't know if... I think that most of you either agree with me or don't care. So maybe I don't need to go into that. But so they're routing tech. And the problem is there's a ton of debt in tech companies. And tech companies is like the entire upper middle class. Right? Like the upper middle class is techies and sales. So if you destroy that industry, that's a major hit to the American middle class. And I just don't see how you keep things together and people happy in that situation. Right? Like if that happens, and then all of those companies that lend it to the tech companies, they go under, that would be a full-blown financial crisis. So that's why Zero Hedge is talking about it. And yet, I really don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. I keep reminding myself through all of this, because, I work at a tech company and everything. It's a little scary right now, to be honest with you. But when I feel that way, the first thing that I hear, myself say in my head is, well, that's a reason to be in. You see the danger, you want to walk right into it. Usually the bad thing doesn't happen. And while everybody else is scared, that gives you a good entry point. So that's kind of my approach right now. So back to the treasuries, if I'm correct, then that means, software companies are going to get hit, but before the end of the year, it will mean revert and they'll be fine. Everything will be fine. And there's no financial crisis, then what's the bid in treasuries, right? Okay, so now that I'm out, we are seeing a little bit of a rise in treasuries. I'm not seeing the volume necessarily in the 10-year, but rather the 30-year. So I think actually what this is the yield curve is mean reverting. Do you think that the yield curve could go all the way back to where it was? AMD had bad forward guidance now. Today it did. Yes, that's why they're down today. Yesterday was other stuff. I don't even remember who it was yesterday. It was somebody that had the markets down big pre-market yesterday. I don't remember who it was. You know, the other thing going on, kind of, it's different market but adjacent, is people are starting to say that we're seeing the beginning of the end for Elon Musk and his companies, because they basically had was it SpaceX basically bought Twitter, right? Because Twitter was losing tons of money. And then Tesla itself is not doing very well because all of the subsidies for electric vehicles got pulled, and now people aren't buying electric cars. Go figure. You give people an incentive to buy something and they buy it, and then when you take the incentive away, they don't have any reason to buy it anymore. It's almost as if there was a reason they weren't buying them in the first place that caused you to want to incentivize people buying it. You know, that reminds me of the rant that I was going on in my head yesterday. Because why is it we know that that free markets work? We know that free markets work. It is this free market capitalist economy that has essentially pulled America, or the world, into a new era of prosperity. And yet, you still get all of these kids, a pretty decent portion of the population, that hate it. Like seriously, these people in Minneapolis are like straight up trying to foment a communist revolution. Let me tell you something, folks. I don't know who needs to hear this, but there's some radical out there, or maybe it's a conservative that's just really, really scared of the radicals. But a communist revolution can't happen in America. Okay, that was something that could happen 100 years ago in a country that still hadn't industrialized, and a monarchy that was inept and didn't really know what was going on, and people that didn't really understand what was happening as the ground moved beneath them. In the modern world, that doesn't happen, because we have such a developed economy. For a communist revolution to happen, there are so many moneyed interests that would just go down the tube, and that would never go over. Like, okay, yeah, you've got these protests and stuff, like protesting ICE, and try doing that in front of bank headquarters and see what happens to you, right? They're not going to put up with it. It can't happen. It can't happen in the US. But there are a lot of people that sure want it to happen. And why is that? So here's my theory. The market is messy, and we as humans naturally dislike that, right? We want to be in control. We want to know that we're safe. That's the biggest thing in the human mind, is knowing that you're safe and secure and everything is taken care of. Especially, I'm not trying to bring this like gender politics into it, but just as an example, like especially for women, if a woman doesn't know that her livelihood is safe, that her house is safe, that there's going to be the next paycheck and whatnot, and that it's going to be enough to cover everything, it really affects a lot, many, many women, and a lot of men too. It's like, it's stress. You're just not your best self when you're scared. And that is just human psychology. Like, that's just the way that we're built. that when something bad happened, the people that were the most scared were the ones that avoided it and survived. And so we've evolved to pay more attention to the negative things, right? We flip out over things that we can't control, right? And the solution to economic prosperity is actually you need a little bit of chaos in it. Like that's the thing that we continually see in complex systems, meaning there's lots of little individual components that when you put them together leads to emergent behavior that you wouldn't necessarily expect from the individual components themselves. And in a system like that, if everything is uniform, then the system tends to just die out, right? So there has to be chaos. So in order for a market to function, there has to be chaos. There has to be, well, let's not use chaos because that means something else scientifically. But there's randomness, there's uncertainty, there's things going on that the further that you get into it, the more that you realize that there's lots of things that we just can't know and can't predict. And it's actually good that way. That's how the system is so successful, is that chaos. What's he say here? Did you listen to are you talking about the interview with Steve Bannon? I haven't had a chance to hear that one. But he talks a lot about complexity in systems, relates it to treating medical emergencies in the human body. Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, they mostly talk about economics. This whole Epstein thing, like the emails in the latest tranche, and not that I've spent a lot of time reading them, but there's definitely people on social media pushing them out. I'm not saying like I'd be embarrassed to be reading them. I'm kind of saying I wish I had more time to spend on it. But I don't even know where. Is there a place? I need to find a place where you can just download the whole thing. I want to just download the whole thing and give it to ChatGPT and then ask ChatGPT questions about it. You know, I don't personally care anymore about the files. Well, because of the thing that's weird about it to me is that in terms of his knowledge of the market and what he thought about the market and what he told people about the market is not too dissimilar from what I say, is it? It's just he's a way better marketer. Right? I'm kind of looking at it like, oh, if somebody's talking, no, it isn't. If somebody's talking about, they have this risk in their business and you say, he says, well, yeah, what you do is you go and you sell, this is the greatest scam in the world. You go and you sell the futures and you let some other sucker take all of the risk and you make money trading the basis. It's perfect. I mean, that is futures. That is being a commodities trading advisor. Is you work with a business that has, like maybe they're a home builder and they have to hedge themselves against the rising price of lumber. You buy the futures. Then if the price of lumber goes up, you make money on the future. It offsets the losses that you're going to make from increased costs on building the houses. Right? But I'm explaining like the straight mechanics of it. The way that he presents it makes you feel like that you're getting the better of somebody else, right? And apparently rich people love that. So I am interested in it. I want to dive more into it, not because I have some theory that he was a Mossad agent or that it's involved in some other conspiracies and I think that I'm going to figure that puzzle out, but because I think that he has insights into the markets that we could learn from and insights into like marketing that I could learn from, So I was very curious. Well, but then the other curious thing is I really do think that if you understand the market at a fundamental level, there's like some unavoidable conclusions that very much contradict what the average person thinks about the markets. I think it was an interesting person, weird, sexual proclivities aside. Well, yeah, like the thing that really stands out to me is just like he never said anything serious. Like all of the emails that I've seen, he's joking around with them. Which maybe he was just like that because he was in a way kind of retired. You know, like he didn't necessarily have to work. He was talking to people because he had relationships with them and yada yada yada. And so then if that's the most important thing, then, you know, making them feel good with a quick little laugh was maybe a more, I don't know. It's just like everything that he said was a joke, and usually like a crass joke, like a joke that I wouldn't make, you know. So it's weird. The whole thing is weird. Now on the other side, there is conspiracy theory stuff there, right? Like we were told, well, the reason that we weren't releasing these other files was to protect victims, but then there's so much stuff in there that has nothing to do with victims. Why were they kept out before? And then there's some emails where like they're redacting the names of potential perpetrators. Like what? So like this whole we can't release the files thing just becomes more curious, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And then on top of that, did you guys see this stuff yesterday? Where like several media outlets are all of a sudden out of nowhere with maybe he was a Russian agent? What? I mean, maybe. I bet you that if it was like a foreign intelligence gathering operation, like I really do think there's a very good chance that he was working for Mossad. That like the whole thing was set up for him to be an intelligence gathering operation for Mossad. Yeah. But if that is what you were doing, it would make complete sense to me that you would also be, dabbling with other countries too, because that would help your intelligence gathering for Israel. You know? Makes sense to me. Yeah, so that it was really, I mean, the thing that was so wild about it to me was a bunch of these news outlets put out this thing, oh, maybe actually what's going on here is he was a Russian agent, and nobody was buying it. Like everybody in the comments are like, no, this is, you're gaslighting us. It was something else to start reading that yesterday. First time in chat? Oh, well, perfect time. We're talking about Epstein. It was great. I'm wondering here, we've spent a lot of time in the 1617 area now. They are kind of like pushing the bottom of it. So they're kind of making it look like they want to push beyond and start moving towards this next set of levels based on volatility. But you're just not getting the volume for it. I don't necessarily, I think the reason I was taking a trade before was because I kind of thought that people were getting off sides and that it was going to mean revert back to like 18. And that didn't happen. So I don't think I have a trade yet. But I think that we could still get some opportunities, because remember, we got news at 7:45 and then we got news at the top of the hour. Probably the best trade that we're going to get is after the top of the hour, right? But from all these instruments, what's your favorite? What's the most profitable, or which one should trade? Well, I think my favorite instrument is definitely, you got a lot of liquidity in there, so there's a lot of data for you to read that you can kind of get an idea of what larger players might be doing, and it creates regular kind of predictive moves, like end of month rebalancing, things like that. It also kind of moves at a pace that's really easy for you to interpret and understand and actually make a move. And then when everything's falling apart, it's the best trade in the world. And when it's not, when you get into a quiet period like this, you can just come in and take a tick, which was kind of what I was trying to do. And I misread the range. And your ability to form an edge in the treasuries, like an informational edge, like you just know more about the market than other people, is stronger in the treasuries. Because like if I wanted to develop that edge in copper, where am I going to get that information from? Treasuries is a place where there's a lot of information out there online that you can scrape and put together. So that's why I like the treasuries most. Even though most people, if I was trading spoos, it would probably be more popular. Let's see here. It's like there's something like 911 mentions of pizza in the new tranche dump, and people are more attributing that to child torture than maybe it's just dopey boomers like pizza. And all those attributions came from the Podesta emails in WikiLeaks. Well, no, like, remember, oh, that's interesting. You're talking about that. Because remember, the reason that thing came about was because there was like an FBI report that said that they used that kind of language. So then anytime anybody talked about pizza, it was maybe it's a code word. Who MS had perfect timing on that silver trade the other day, makes you wonder. Wait, who is MS? The silver trade was okay. Can I rant about the silver trade for a second? UBSC, is that their name? Basically, it's a bank that's kind of a British bank, but like they're really Morgan Stanley. But they really are really involved in China. And they have an ETF, a silver ETF. And on Friday, Chinese authorities basically suspended trading of that silver ETF. And then when the silver ETF started trading again on Monday, they said, oh, we're not going to be tracking, our ETF doesn't track the price of silver in China anymore. It uses global prices when it started trading again. So that is it, as far as I can tell, because there's a couple of things going on, but it really seems to me that the trigger, the thing that makes the most sense and is the most correlated with when things started going down and all of that, was the Chinese suspending trading of this ETF. Is why silver started going down and it created such a huge washout. And then beyond that, there was just a lot of speculation behind it. So then people are using margin and yada, yada, yada. You go, the market becomes unhinged and it can drop really far. And it's not the first time that I've seen like a really big drop in silver. Okay. But the rant is, nobody seems to know that that's what happened. Even influencers that I come across occasionally on TikTok and whatnot, that I think actually do know what's going on, like macro traders or people that were really into the silver markets and everything, don't seem to know that happens. This piece of news, maybe it's just because it happened in China, just completely went under the radar, and everybody's and meanwhile, all of the silver influencers are like confused, like, how can this happen? This is such a large market. There's no way that it could move this far, and alleging some sort of conspiracy. When in reality, Like the conspiracy is right there and was widely reported. They pulled a GameStop. They suspended trading in the ETF so that people couldn't get into it anymore. It's like I'm absolutely stunned that such a major happening in the market and everybody's clueless. Nobody knows that this happened. Everybody ignored this headline. And gold was down like what, 20% or something? Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Nobody knows that that's why? What? I don't get it. I did not think that something that big. Now the thing is, when it was happening, I didn't know that's, I only knew like a day afterwards. Man, if you were sitting on the news squawk and you heard UBSC ETF trading suspended, oh, I need to sell silver, you would have made a killing. You would have made a killing. So it's a piece of information that majorly moved the market and nobody seemed to be aware of. This is really wild to me. I swear some of the possibly biggest stories are often ignored. Makes me wonder sometimes, am I putting too much thought into, or is it the quiet proof of the importance? Oh yeah, no, totally. The thing is that we are one of the last remaining group of people on the planet that are actually using business news for business, right? In the like the from the 40s until the 70s or so, right? If you were a businessman, you wanted to get the Wall Street Journal, and you would read the Wall Street Journal every day because you didn't have the internet to read. So what are you going to do with your time? You read the Wall Street Journal, and you would watch the nightly news and things like that, and so that you knew what was going on and you could make correct business decisions, right? And what has happened is, one, that kind of information becomes less useful to the average businessman now. I'm not sure I understand why, but it sure does seem like that most people in business don't need to know that stuff to make decisions anymore. Maybe we never actually needed that information. And this larger cohort of people come about that watch the news purely for entertainment purposes. They don't use that information. They're just glued to the television because they've been told that it's important, and the media is constantly pushing scary things, and so they think that they need to watch it so that they know what scary thing is going on, and they're absolutely obsessed. And so news is primarily about entertainment. And so there are stories all the time that are really important but fly under the radar because they don't have that entertainment value. So there's another story, and I still don't actually know what happened. Because yesterday they did pass a funding bill, didn't they? They passed a funding bill. But I was told that they were going to try and pass the SAVE Act with it. What happened? Did it actually come up for a vote, or did they pull it and not vote on it? I can't find any story anywhere. I can see people on the Donald Trump forums complaining about that they couldn't pass it, but I don't actually see what happened. Republicans didn't want no voter ID. I don't know. There probably is a number of Republicans that are maybe nervous about it. Could be. Yeah, news is often late if you catch something good. I find it happens often enough. You have to wait for the market to catch on. Yum. Because the market is not informationally efficient. The Save Act one is wild because like we're seeing all these polling, like 80% of people support voter ID and everything, and they can't seem to pass it. What is that? That is, I don't know, man. They're gonna get, you mean Republicans are gonna get slaughtered? I don't know. I think there is a good chance now. I mean, before it was pretty like, oh, this is very unlikely that Democrats take the House. But it was, remember we were talking about it a couple of months ago? I was like, well, we shouldn't say that it's like an impossibility. It's probably more like a 55% chance that Republicans maintain the House. Unless something big happens, and that there was a very, very high probability that something big happens that changes the game. Okay. Well, something big did happen. I mean, there's been a pretty major change politically. I'm not entirely sure what the impact on voting from that is actually going to be. You think that people will have no incentive to vote for them? Well, I do think if Republicans don't pass a Save Act or I don't know. So here's the other thing that I'm confused about is I was told that Department of Homeland Security was like funded for like the near future and all this. But now I'm reading that actually if they don't do something before February 13th, then they just lose funding. And there's like zero chance that they're going to be able to get a deal that allows it to continue. So I feel misled about that one, but I digress. If Republicans didn't do anything, I think you might be right. I think that a lot of Republican voters would feel really disengaged about their party. Like, we basically gave you control of all three sections of government. Not that you had a huge majority or anything, but with what little power that we gave you, you did nothing with it. Why should I give you more? Whereas the Democrats, let me tell you what, the Democrat Party is all in on get the base as riled up as possible by comparing immigration enforcement to Nazi Germany. And you go on Reddit, you can see these people are just absolutely rabid. They have an impression of what's going on that is just completely disconnected from reality. And nobody's doing anything to try and inject some sense of reality into it, because they want people to be foaming at the mouth on election day so that the Democrats show up. It is totally, how can we get as many Democrats to show up and on the midterms as possible, right? But which to me is kind of funny, because what they're doing, they're literally pushing mass hysteria so that they can eke out a narrow majority in one section of the government, right? And then what do you think happens when it's a presidential election year? So, larger term picture, Democrats are still in a tight spot, which I don't necessarily like. I don't like Democrats, but you need two parties, okay? And the Democrat Party being a complete joke is not good for America, right? But it does look like they're going to have the advantage in the midterms. Unless Republicans switch it up, right? I think Republicans need to come in and do something that shows that they actually are doing something. And the one thing that the base wants is election integrity laws. I don't know what else there is. Immigration enforcement and election integrity laws. And like Republicans are probably happy about what's going on with immigration enforcement right now. But if the Department of Homeland Security loses its funding and then that's just shut down permanently. Oh, think about that. Dude, that's actually kind of wild. Because what was the number? They were saying that murder in 2025 was down like 20% or something like that. That's wild. That's a really wild stat. Like, for the first time in my entire adult life, you're actually seeing some progress made on the illegal immigration issue. Because first thing you have to do is you have to stop the flow, and then maybe you have the opportunity to come in and change some laws and adjust the system, and then maybe after that have amnesty law. But if DHS loses its funding, and then Democrats definitely aren't going to extend it if they win the midterms, then that means that you only got like 1 year of immigration enforcement, and then the other 3 years no enforcement. Crime in blue states have been recorded as all-time lows since we don't record them. Wow. I can't really get into that one too much because I can't prove. Like, what would the stat actually be, right? In my area, was crimeless for 2 years straight, not even one burglary for 2 years in my county. But I promise an absolute fact, but it is a lie. Those who self-deported through the app are allowed to legally apply for entry as long as they don't have a criminal record and have not been previously removed. I think that's, yeah. It's actually kind of curious. Like, everything that Republicans said about this issue so far I think that there's substantial evidence to say that they were correct. That if you just start to enforce the law, that a large portion of people will just stop coming or will self-deport. And that is exactly what's happening. And that a large portion of the crime that we have comes from illegal immigration. I think that some of the stats that we're getting also suggests that. I wouldn't say that it proves it, but it is supportive of that narrative, right? Even though people are very upset about what's going on in Minneapolis, the polling numbers that I'm seeing on immigration and immigration enforcement kind of shows that Americans are broadly supportive of it and that the support is growing. And yet it may just be about to get killed. Jeez. Curious. So with this one of those issues that I don't think you're ever going to be able to solve. Because the issue is, like, can you calculate what is the optimal number of immigrants you should get a year? How do you calculate what's the optimal number of immigrants a year? Well, there's an optimal number that's good for business owners, and there's a number that's good for workers, and they're kind of diametrically opposed to each other, right? So they're always going to fight over it. Let's recenter here. So that's the first really good, solid bid at 17 again. Had a friend that was murdered, and the murderer got away with it. Anyways, I've always found like you know, some if you go on Reddit, they think illegal immigration, it's a fake issue. The only reason that it's a thing is because Republicans are racist, and like immigration is objectively good for everybody because it has economic benefits and yada yada yada. And the only reason that you guys think that it's not good is because you're racist. That's what the Democrats say about it. But just when we're talking here on the stream, no other issue gets comments going more than illegal immigration. And why is that? Because it's not just oh, I don't like these people because they're brown. It's because people are experiencing actual negative effects from it. I did too. Nothing terrible happened to me, but I used to live in an apartment. There was one apartment complex that we lived in. It was a little nicer, and then just to the south of us was where all of the Hispanic people lived, and you know, a lot of illegal immigrants, and there was shootings and other kinds of crime in that apartment complex. And I would wake up in the morning to get on the bus, and there would be police cars on the other side of the street investigating a murder. Seeing that kind of gets to you, doesn't it? And enough people have seen the negative effects personally that they want something done about it. And the people that don't are the people that are rich enough that they're completely isolated from it. Just like this whole thing with the Emmys and what's her bucket. Why can't I remember her name? Saying that we live on stolen land, and they're like, well, why aren't you offering to give away the land that your mansion is built on? We had an ex-employee get murdered a few years back, found her bones in a shallow grave on the side of the road, and they never caught who did it. Tropica, they get people going, follow the same pattern. Someone gets stuff and I don't. Rich people, poor people, immigrants, any group that can be perceived as getting stuff other people can't or don't. Maybe. I don't know. Like, so there's been a lot of headlines recently about fraud, waste, and abuse going on. All of these programs that are put to help people that are what do we call them, asylum seekers and things like that. And then you find out that like there's this whole group of people that they're just literally living on the government through fraud, right? And it was a big deal for Republicans for like a week, and I feel like people have already forgotten about it. That story didn't really get people moving. Like I can't deny that jealousy does motivate people, but it's probably not the biggest one. Let's see here, Tarnax. All right, I don't know how you would say your name, but I'm an 18-year-old hustling designer. I'll make a great thumbnail. Sure. Well, especially if you send me one. And I don't know. You just find me on Discord. We've done that before. I've never found some. Like I've had some people that they want to do thumbnails. That like they want to do that. And then either they don't follow through, the thumbnails aren't very good, or like we put one up and it doesn't make a difference, right? Because what I would like to see is, okay, we pick a video that we think could use a better thumbnail, and then we switch it, and by changing the thumbnail we see the performance of the video change, right? Which is really frustrating to me because I think that the thumbnail should be the biggest factor in the performance of the video, and yet we can't seem to improve it. But yeah, but Discord. Discord in the video description, and you can message me there. People see you can get away with it, but they're mad that they can't get away with it. COVID, among many lessons, should have taught us that much. I don't, if that was the thing that people cared the most about, though, I think that they would be voting very differently. That doesn't seem to be the biggest driver among people's voting patterns. I would say more than anything right now that tribalism is driving people's voting patterns the most. That you feel like you're part of a certain group, and that group tends to vote a certain way, and so you vote that way too. Yesterday, the market, yes, it did. And the first 10 minutes of the S&P 500 is not telling me that like we're going to have a huge turnaround Wednesday, does it? It hasn't moved too much yet. Oh, you're saying we never vote to change it because people aren't upset about fraud. They're upset that they weren't able to take advantage of it. Okay. Not paying attention and missed an easy. Oh wow, there's a good move in gold there. You're right. And in copper. And not correlated with any kind of change in either the treasuries complex or the foreign exchange complex. Kind of going on its own. I would be weary about a move like that, actually, because of that. Because that's either money's coming out and it's going to come somewhere else, and that might mean contagion and the S&P 500 going down, or it's just one guy trying to push and do a trade, and it could do who knows what after this, right? I don't know. I still think tribalism is like, if we're gonna go look at like what affects people and how they vote. Let's see here. Let's make a tab here. Non-correlation metals seem to have their own agenda. Well, yeah, but the other big moves that we had, that was correlated with everything else in the market moving. So. I think that the biggest one is probably actually your wallet. So like, if there's some issue that's directly impacting your wallet, that seems to have a larger effect on people than almost anything else. This is why I'm really perplexed that housing is not a bigger political issue, a national issue. Like, man, can somebody explain this one to me? Because Trump was saying all this stuff and doing all of this stuff. Oh, we want to make housing more affordable. And he was throwing all of this stuff out to try and make it more affordable, right? Oh, we'll let you pay with your savings, like with your 401k, which is a bad idea, but whatever. We'll give you 50-year mortgages. We'll, we're going to stop corporations from being able to buy houses. All of these things that, like, I don't think would really make much of a difference. But some people, these are the commonly thrown out things, and so you just, it's the kitchen sink approach. I don't know anything about this, so I'm just gonna go and do everything that people say might help, and then see what sticks, right? And then, after like a week or two of that, he comes out and he's like, no, I don't want the cost of housing to get more affordable. I want the value of houses to go up because, people have made a lot of money on their houses, and I want them to make even more money on their houses. What? What a crazy turnaround. What happened there? I think there's a plan in the works to build 1 million homes with this. Well, that would be great. But why did Donald Trump say that he wants housing to get more expensive? Is that am I misunderstanding what he was saying or the context of how when it was being answered? Or was it like he did all of these things to see if that would, help his polling numbers and nobody cared? So now he realizes that that's not a political issue that helps him. So he's just going to, go all in on boomers. I honestly don't know. I can't explain that one. What's going on there? It just because it seems to me like a very abrupt reversal of a position on something that is like such an obvious, easy political win. I tell you what, if by the end of, you couldn't do it for midterms, but let's just say in some special world where they were dealing with the cost of housing from day one, and the cost of a house was, let's say, as affordable as it was in 2017. Not that like the price of things would go down because there's inflation, but like the cost of the house relative to the average income there's as much affordability as there was in 2017. Republicans would be a shoo-in. And everybody knew that it was the Republican policies that fixed the problem. Yeah, they'd be a shoo-in. Would be like, yeah, okay, you're doing a good job. We'll let you write it in your wallet. Home is your biggest expense. It just seems like a no-brainer to me, and yet there's have yet to have anything significant happen on it, and Trump seems to have reversed on his position on that. I don't know what's going on there. I think yes, wallet. I think tribalism. Maybe the reason I think about the tribalism is just because you see it really, really strongly in Utah. Mormons vote Republican, and everybody else votes Democrat. And it was never really a huge deal until Democrats started going radically far left. And now it's like you go and you apply for a job, and everybody there's liberal, and you're obviously not liberal because you don't have blue hair. You're not going to get hired. I straight up see that stuff now. It's wild, and I've never met an ex-Mormon that was still Republican. It's just a thing, and I really think that most people they kind of see. They say what tribe do I belong to? What interest groups and the people that are most like me, and then what are the people that are most like me? What political opinions do they have? And they adopt those. Because a lot of the political opinions that people have don't really make sense otherwise. And then I think the other one would be safety. That's the one. I think that the thing that's helping Donald Trump the most is that Americans trust him more on law and order and enforcing the law and yada, yada, yada. The Democrats are we shouldn't even oh my gosh, dude, so yesterday, story time, not that great of a story, but on Reddit there was this thread that was basically I think that anti-ICE is like a bad political position that hurts Democrats. That Democrats have these positions that are so radical that everybody on Reddit pushing for them, like abolish ICE, is really harmful to the Democrat success in elections. And this was in the Change My Views subreddit, so you can go find it. And his like explanation, he compared it to like abolish the police. Like abolish the police is an extreme position that hardly anybody in the United States agrees with. And yet Democrat activists pushed it super, super hard, and it hurt the party significantly. And so if you want to help the Democrat Party, then the best thing to do would be for those people to shut up, right? And let the moderate Democrats win things, right? That was his position. And this other person, that was a fairly upvoted comment, was like, well, that's a straw man, because when we were saying abolish the police or defund the police, that's not really what we meant. Okay, so everybody's having this argument about like, okay, maybe you need a better slogan. The idea behind it was good, is just we marketed it poorly, sort of, which is always what Democrats do, isn't it? When Democrats push a policy out and it fails, or the public rejects it, the answer is always lean harder on communism, essentially. It's like, go further left. Oh, you need to go further left and market it better. Okay, but then you get into like what? Okay, but the actual idea that you're promoting there, people still don't agree with it. People want the thing that makes them the most safe, and what you're saying will not make them safer, right? And the person was like, no, that's still strong. Like, that's not what they mean. What we really mean is that law enforcement is inherently racist because the laws are all chosen by you white people and by a popular vote. And I'm like, what? So are you like seriously questioning the very foundations of a republic and democratic voting, and like the very laws, like don't murder and all of these sorts of things? Like, this is crazy. Like, how do you not realize how like the whole point was you believe something that's crazy, and by pushing that out there, it hurts the Democrat Party. And then he's like, no. What we really believe is blah, blah, blah. And it's like even more crazy. Do you not realize how absolutely insane what you're saying actually sounds? Like, what? I'm almost wonder, is this like not a real person? Is this like a troll or a bot sort of thing? Like, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest thing to hear them. Basically, they literally said that law enforcement is inherently racist. That enforcing the law is inherently racist. Okay. This is the only reason why Donald Trump and the Republican Party has any power right now. It's not that the Republican Party is great. It's that the Democrats are so much more batshit crazy right now. Maybe it's a good thing that neither side can get much of anything done. Sent some thumbnails. Let's see. Oh, somebody sent me a message showing me some scam bots. How did they get through the filter? Okay, it's a thumbnail. Oh, your price is $25. That's It's actually significantly higher than most of them, but what I would think, what I would want you to do is pick a specific video. Oh, it's for 3. Oh, okay. Three different videos, or just 3 different thumbnails for the same video that you like A/B test on. When your house is invaded at 2 a.m., who are you gonna call? The fire department. 3 variants, basically. So you don't have to make a thumbnail for it, but what I would want is basically what I want you to do is prove to me that you know what will make a clickable thumbnail, right? So what I would do is find a video on my channel where it seems like a good video to you, but it doesn't have a lot of views. And maybe the reason it doesn't have a lot of views is the thumbnail. And then explain what's weak about the thumbnail that I have and what you would change. You don't have to actually make the thumbnail, because otherwise I could just like right click it and switch it and see what happens, right? Get it for free. But like an explanation of what you would do. That gives me the confidence that like if I use your thumbnail on that video, because what I'm like right now, I'm not making a ton of videos. I have a video I need to make, and I might be able to make it this weekend, so I should get on that. And then I want to make some hardware videos for a new channel. But in terms of thumbnails, what I'm more interested in is changing the thumbnails of my existing videos to something better. That makes sense? Man, today went by quickly. It's because we were actually watching the market. But you know what? I'm disappointed in the market. I thought there would be more activity today than that. But now, granted, maybe they're just waiting for the services PMI. That's probably a factor. I'm a little disappointed in my execution of that sim trade that it was kind of more of a market making scalp kind of a setup, but I just completely misread that range and ended up buying the top of the range, which bothers me because, you know, that used to be the problem a lot, and I felt like that I had overcome that. And maybe I'm learning you gotta wait for the lines is better than trying to get ahead of it. Yeah, you might be right. I kind of thought, part of me was thinking, oh, they already bounced, and now I'm seeing a buy impulse, so I want to get in here, right? But what I didn't see was actually they're just building a range, and even though there's buying, they're going to get stuck in this range. And so it's better for you to wait for the actual line, and there's going to be some shifts in this yield curve trade, and so that might cause it to shift around a little bit too. So yeah, I could have done that a lot better for sure. And I kind of expected that I'd be a little bit rusty. That's why I didn't take it on the live account. So go figure. Of course, to get it on the live account, I really got to feel like that we're getting some activity in the treasuries, because my bigger point here was I came in today thinking, okay, now I have some stuff that should be creating flows and whatnot. And it seemed like it was creating flows in the beginning, but in the end, it just kind of pooped out. Okay, the S&P is dropping again. We'll stay until the services PMI was about to leave, but then it's, no, we got the services PMI, and then we go. It sucks because some of my best trades have been in that, after that PMI, so, oh well. Someday we will shift some things and we'll be able to stick around for longer. But we're making progress. I think the changes that we made to our indicator and everything are really good. I think there's some things that I still need to like spruce up. There's that that there's a bug in there. I want the auto scaling to work correctly. And then I want, and then I need to add some things like filters so that if you don't want it to write the CSV file, it doesn't do that, and that sort of a thing. Okay. So a little bit of a cell there. Let's see here. The headline number was slightly higher than expected, 53.8 versus 53.5. Prices paid higher than expected, 66.6 versus 65. But new orders lower than expected, 53.1 versus 55. And employment lower than expected, 50.3 versus 51.8. So actually mixed. The most important numbers and the headline numbers were bad, and so it looks like the algorithm sold it, but then it reverted, and we're actually going higher. In the meantime, the S&P 500 is selling. And I don't think it has anything to do with the PMIs. It might just be a continuation of the route in technology. And maybe we're seeing a little bit of a bid in the treasuries because of that. So I don't think that I can predict if the S&P 500 is just going to continue to sell or if it's going to turn around. But that seems to be the dominant flow. So, yeah. I think strategy wise here, we got that indicator put away. We need to make this video this weekend, and then there's some back-end infrastructure stuff that I want to do so that we don't have to pay for the email list anymore, because that's getting expensive and we don't really use it. And then hardware videos. Oh, actually, before I go, I wanted to do something here. Where is it? We do have a monitor mount that I needed to get. This one right here. I definitely should have done this earlier. It's this one, for sure. Get that taken care of. Wow, they're already at the highs now, huh? Nah, something has changed, folks. Extend fall, NASDAQ down. I mean, I really don't see anything in the ISM that would have caused that. I do think it is just the E-minis, and we're getting a flight to safety bid. Look at the, oh man, something's definitely up. I'm very, very upset that I've got to go, because Well, I mean, I don't know if I would have gotten in on that, but look at those bids at like 19 and 18.5. So like not only are we getting a strong trend, but we're getting really, really thick liquidity stacking behind it as well, which is a strong sign of a trending move. I do think you have to be a little bit wary of it though, because it does appear to be flight to safety because the E-minis are falling apart. And I'm not sure if that can continue. So you might be taking a trade here in the treasury, but you're actually trading the E-mini, right? I actually came back quite a bit there. All right, well, listen, I wish I could stay, but you guys, you tell me how you did, okay? You tell me how you did tomorrow. I think that you guys will be good without me, right? So I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.